jargon for saying that culture is upstream of everything. Given time, culture cascades down to politics, to how corporates work, to how we engage with each other, to what we eat. And in the modern day, there's no one to compete with the power of the West, or more specifically the Anglophone part of the West, the English-speaking part. And what we are here to debate today is that can the gaze be reversed? Can the East, or more specifically India, start impacting the world with our culture, or to use a geopolitical term, our soft power? If I may begin with you, Minister Thakur, I'm going to have, if I may, okay, you gave me this glare. If I may, is there a connection between soft power and hard power? What is your perception of that?
Good evening, everyone. I'm a cricketer, so let me try to explain it in the language of cricket about the hard power and the soft power relationship. So the hard power and the soft power relationship could be like two batsmen at the crease, and they have to make a run. They have to run together and reach the mark. One complement the other. The same is with the power. I think power is interplay between hard power and soft power. To exist and stay relevant, a nation needs to have hard power. And to have good relationship, to make friends, and to exist beyond boundaries, nation needs to have soft power. Because soft power captures the imagination, it touches the heart. And centuries ago, if I have to talk about India's hard power, it was the economy and the military which also made it expand its soft power, which helps it to disseminate its soft power like culture, cuisine, architecture across countries like China, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia and all that. But with the decline in the hard power, there was soft power also. I've seen in the last few decades the way India is emerging as far as the hard power is concerned. The soft power is also emerging through the cinema. I still remember I visited US for the first time way back in 1997. I used to be into the manufacturing and export of hand tools and all. So there was a trade fair in Chicago, McCormick Place. It was closer to the date of 15th August, which is Independence Day for us. I picked up one of the newspaper where they talked about India as a country of snake charmers and beggars. So I felt very bad about it. But after a couple of years, because it used to be annual affair for us to go for those exhibitions and all. If you remember, during Vajpayee's time, we had the nuclear explosion and world looked at us. There were many sanctions and all. But within 3 years, the things have changed. The way world looking at us, it is the hard power which made them rethink. But at the same time, it is our IT-enabled services which has soft power which reached beyond boundaries of India. And today also, being the largest filmmaker, I see India has the potential to be the content subcontinent of the world. For that, you need soft power. So I think there is interplay of hard power and soft power both. Nobody will look at your soft power if you don't have the hard power.
Yeah, very, very beautifully put, sir. And I love the historical sweep you brought into this answer.
Because if you look at one of the movies like Avatar, I think it was in the year 2009 or 10, I think they will know it better. I looked at the technology, the way they portrayed, and I kept imagining, when will India use technology and produce something like this? Then came Bahubali few years back. which captured the imagination of not only the Indians but across the world. So with the use of technology, we have reached there. I still remember I was in Bhopal for my territorial army examinations, and that was the 9-day period when we used to get the evening off. I watched that movie in Bhopal. People kept asking, is it real? The extraordinary waterfall and the Prabhas climbing the waterfall and all that. But when I look back and look at the Spider-Man or the Batman, and people will clap and say, oh wow. I think it is the Western world which over a period of years, they portrayed their heroes like that, and the world started imagining them in the same. They believed in them. Now the India has started using technology. One film after another has been in that direction. And I'm sure the Indian heroes will not only will be for the India, but for the globe, for the entire world. And I'm sure the rich culture, history India has, we have a lot to showcase and tell the world. India could be the AVGC hub, post-production hub, and I'm sure India is going to do well in that direction. It's not only the hard power, but the soft power also coming together and making way for it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Very true, sir. Shekhar, if I may come to you, and you were... No. You were one of the pioneers, the Indian pioneers into the Western world, and even some of the movies that you made in your Western, on Western subjects, like Elizabeth, had in some ways an Indian approach to the passion and drama in it. But has the time come for us to take our own stories? Is the world open enough to listen to our own stories in our own idiom? Has the time come? What is your perception?
Well, when I made Elizabeth, I remember thinking, who am I? If you're an artist, who are you in the process of creating art, whether it's a film? And I realized I wasn't British. But I did realize I'm Asian. And so, actually, if you look at Elizabeth today, again, you'll see a lot of Bollywood in it. You'll see a lot of Asianness in it. And I still believe that the reason that film was so accepted was the Asianness of Elizabeth itself. I kept getting told it's too dramatic. I told the actors, I'm not asking you to be dramatic. It's the way I'm doing it's dramatic. So the combination really, the drama of it, the melodrama of it worked. And I remember in the West they always say, oh, your films and your presentations so melodramatic, right? I said, no, we're mythic. Because we see life as mythic. Birth is mythic, death is mythic, falling in love is mythic, being betrayed is mythic. And we are not afraid to express our ideas of being mythic. Now, you call it melodrama, we call it mythic. That's it, that's the difference. Yeah? But will it, I remember 20 years ago I gave an article in The Guardian and I said, when they make Spider-Man 6 and Spider-Man takes his mask off, he's going to be Chinese or Indian. It's true, it is. It's our consumer, two things are working right now. Consumption patterns are increasing. Where are you going to show, where are you going to show it except where people consume it? And our consumers are getting very, very sophisticated. And technology is a word being used a lot, and we have the highest use of technology, the highest use of Facebook, Twitter, everything is in India, right? And so we have given technology to the people and they will use it. Can I go on this? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So people keep saying, I read somewhere in your blurb that the value of Indian content is going to be $55 billion or something. Who wrote that? Well, whoever wrote that, you're absolutely wrong. Ask me why.
Why?
Because it's going to be worth $1 trillion. Then I'll tell you why. Because what is worth? Recently we've seen the rise of Korean dramas. Yeah. Korea suddenly out of nowhere became the new culture of the world. Korean series, Korean films, and China actually had to put a stop to it. Because so what happened? Korean clothes, Korean culture, Korean soaps, Korean films. My daughter just only uses Korean makeup and skincare. And what happened? Korea happened. When I was a kid, I just wanted jeans, I wanted McDonald's, I wanted burgers, I wanted to go to Harvard, anything American. Because America sold themselves to us. Now we can sell them, and we have technology, and we can sell that. Why $1 trillion? Because technology is shifting so fast. You know, how, here's what I feel. Bela, tell me, you deal with it all the time. I think that the new way, 90% of the US kids don't watch Netflix. 90% don't watch sports, they don't watch films. They game, right? It's all about gaming.
Gaming,
yes?
yeah.
Right. So what does, I'm wrong?
No?
Okay.
No, I was just saying 90%?
90%.
I'm going to say definitely people game. 90 just felt very high to me looking at the demos. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So what does gaming mean? I think the future is here. Tell me. That very soon what we will be doing, I would like to do, is I would like to create a world for people to see. And then I would go to my lawyer and say, I don't want any IP in it. Right? I am going to allow people to create worlds out of my worlds. And then somebody else to create worlds out of their worlds, and then go on. So effectively the future belongs to planting a seed. You own the seed, and if you're making, let's say we're making the Mahabharata. What was the Mahabharata? We used to tell the Mahabharata to each other. There must have been 1 million versions of Mahabharata before the Gutenberg press came, before you published it. And then when you published it, there was one version of the Mahabharata. Now what technology is allowing us to do is, again, go back to 1 million spoken versions or internet versions of Mahabharata. So what is Mahabharata? It's a story, but it's also a universe. Marvel keeps talking about a universe. Mahabharata is a universe. And if I put my version of Mahabharata out, I'm going to allow everybody to put their version, draw from my version, create their world and their world and their world. And where do I get this from? From nature. That's how a rainforest works. You plant a seed and a rainforest grows and grows and grows. So what if I put it out? The value of that Mahabharata, told again and again and told in 1 million versions, doesn't matter. In the US, somebody will put white people in the Mahabharata. Somebody will put the Mahabharata in space. Somebody will put it in the moon. Somebody will put it here. I'm going to allow all of that. I'm saying, that's what's going to happen. And that's going to be worth $1 trillion. And everybody talks about it today. The word is metaverse. When we go into the metaverse, it's going to be amazing. And so the Indian content culture, because we have so many stories and so many derivatives, it's not just one story. It's derivative after derivative after derivative after derivative that you create a new culture.
Madhuri Dixit is the heartthrob of her generation, and I'm no exception from that generation. Madhuri, if I may build a bit on what Shekhar said, that China blocked Korean content. They used to block Hollywood content as well. There was a limit of any foreign films, 12 films a year. India never blocked any content. And yet we're one of the few markets that stubbornly refuses to be conquered by Hollywood. It's always our movies. You see it in books, you see it in serials, you see it in movies. We continue to watch our stuff. When the Ramayana was, the 1980s television serial, it was rerun. It was a rerun of a 30-year-old serial, and even at that time the special effects weren't that good. It got a higher viewership in India than Game of Thrones did worldwide. What is it about India that so stubbornly sticks to our stories? That the government doesn't have to stop the foreign stuff. We'll keep watching our stuff. What is your interpretation of this?
First of all, good evening, everyone. It's very nice to meet all of you and see all of you here. I think we are so steeped in our own culture. We're very proud of our culture. And you might wear a Levi's jeans, or you might wear, Prada or whatever, all these brands. But the moment you say, "Ghar pe puja hai, ghar pe shadi hai," we all come back to, oh my God, it's celebration. It's wearing your own clothes and, wearing very, very Indian, the gagras. If you see even the kind of fashion that we have today, it's a very nice mix of Indian and, the other cultures. So I think we are so used to being very steeped in our own culture and yet accepting, other cultures and making it our own. And if you see our movies, they reflect that. Culture is a very integral part of our life. Every morning we wake up, we have our gods, we pray to them, and then we go off to work. And that's why I think whatever might happen all around the world, people will still be crazy about Indian movies. They will still watch it. They will still want to, imbibe everything that's going on, because that's how they see our culture, and they, want to be a part of it. Like Shekharji said, we create worlds and we kind of pull people into our world, whether it's romance or whether it's dramatic, something like Bahubali, which is like a larger-than-life movie. Technologically, I think we took a little time to come into our own, but now with the movies that I'm seeing, the kind of special effects, because a lot of the movies that were made in the US, the Hollywood movies, a lot of the work was done in India, right? All the special effects and everything that made them larger than life. And now we have companies here who are doing our own work, doing our own special effects and everything, and making those worlds seem real, And I think that is what, also I think we as people, are always one. We as people always hold on to each other. Families are very important to us. Our culture is such that it's very hard to walk away from it. And we will always be Indian. Wherever we are, you see the Indian diaspora all over the world. They still live in that era that they had left. They think India is the same. They still live with those ideals, and they pass it on to their children, because they are watching films from India, the kids are watching the films. They're crazy about our songs and dances and about, everything about India. And I think it will continue to do that, because we as people are very steeped in our culture.
And I wanted to just add on what Madhuri is saying. Obviously, India has this incredible history of storytelling and rich cinema and this amazing creative community. And what we've seen at Netflix recently working, we were so lucky to work with Madhuri on Fame Game. And what's amazing about Fame Game, locally told, authentically made here in front of and behind the camera, a very, very Indian, but that show connected with a global audience, and you saw it travel to other countries. So that was a great example of still being very true to everything artistry and creative in India. And now you see on a service that can actually launch something globally, something that is very specific to India and very local and very authentic, will connect with people around the world. So I think it really is continuing to embrace, and how relevant and loved it was in India, and it will connect with people, outside of India, which I think is powerful for cultural affinity. I think it's powerful actually for tourism, because when people watch things from other countries, they're more inclined to actually travel there. And so I do think this idea that what is so great about just great Indian storytelling and a creative community here is you can tap into that and stay true to that storytelling and the culture, and you can actually have it connect with a global audience, which we recently saw in Fame Game.
Okay, very good insight. Bela, if I could ask you one thing, it's a bit of a cliche that there's an India and there's a Bharat. There's a perception that many of the OTT platforms have done very well in India, but Bharat is yet to feel their magic. Would you agree with that perception on OTT platforms? And if so, what do you think can be done to address that?
Be careful what you say there.
I know.
Yeah, you're running on very, very dangerous ground.
Oh, come on, this is hardly dangerous. Come on.
I'm going to go for, I'm going to go with Madhuri's thing of, being an Indian person in America, still very true to being Indian and how much of the culture and how much I live every day and feel connected to the country. We want to make the best stories in the world, in every country, in every language. And there's amazing storytelling here and different creators that have different stories to tell. and we want to always be authentic to what that is. And, perception is always tricky because it's not reality, it's perception. So I just think we're very proud of many shows on our service, and we have a wide variety and breadth of content. We have members who have lots of different tastes. You're in a different mood, you're in a different taste, and we have a wide breadth of shows. And we want to have everyone's favorite show from all different parts of the world.
Sorry.
You talked about India and Bharat, but if you look at the first generation of Indian directors and actors, most of them, they came from the smaller towns and cities. Even today, if you look at best of the talent, that they come from the smaller town and cities. Whether it is sports or cinema, you will see that emerging from the smaller cities and towns because they have the fire in their belly to do something in life. So we will see a lot of young people coming into the content creation, production and direction. Recently in the last IFFI edition, we invited 75 young creative minds of India. So out of 500 plus applications, 75 were picked, and 70% out of that were from the small cities, you can say from the Bharat, in that way.
And I will say in that we've partnered on a writers, 100 women screenwriters program. We've partnered, with BAFTA for India Breakthrough to make sure that there's skill sets of writing and filmmaking from all parts, of the country, and there's opportunity of how do you actually, build a skill set, and so you have stories from other places, and we do film, 25 different, locations all across the country, and so I do think this idea of working on these partnerships that we have with the ministry too, to build sort of the skill set in these kind of programs, to make sure stories are coming from all over the country.
Wonderful. See, that wasn't a difficult question at all. It was very well handled. You should applaud those answers. If I may come to you, Saad, firstly, what you're doing in Afghanistan, I think all of us need to doff our hat to you. It is extremely impressive and inspiring. Right from the times of Kabuliwala, I don't know if you're aware of that story and the movie that was made on it. Indians have, of course, have had an affinity to Afghan stories as well. Afghan stories have had the passion and emotions that are endemic to the subcontinent. And you can be careful in your answer, no problem. In the challenging times that are being faced by the Afghans, how do we keep that connect, the emotional connect with various other countries of the subcontinent? How do we keep it alive? What is the way forward? What's your view on that?
I mean, as an Afghan, it's interesting that the first Afghan movie was shot in Lahore, in British India, I think in the 1930s. So there's a connection to India that goes back many decades. And when we started off our operations in Afghanistan, it's interesting, we tried Western content and it failed. Western music, Western content failed. And in 2004, we bought our first Indian series, Kyunki Saas Bahi.
Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi.
That's right, that's right. I don't know if the impact was that positive, nonetheless, it was exceptionally popular. And then, of course, we understood it's all about storytelling. And it doesn't matter where the story comes from. If it's well told and if it resonates with that population, it will do well. So for us, then that became an excellent example of what to do with good content. So we bought Indian content for Afghanistan, for Ethiopia and Africa, for Iraq. We even had an operation in Pakistan where for the first time we legally aired Star TV content. And in this polarized world, it's extraordinary how stories from Korea, from Turkey, from India, it bridges the gap between different people in different parts of the world. Turkish telenovelas are doing well in South America, for example, or Korean shows are doing exceptionally well in Ethiopia. Indian content has always done well in the regions we're active in. And I think that's a really important thing to bear in mind. The other important thing is how media can be such a positive agent of social change, positive social change. In Afghanistan, we've seen over the last 20 years, I know we have the Taliban regime, and they are the enemies of fun, and entertainment and culture. But the people of Afghanistan have been transformed, I think, in large part because of the media. You know, the people of Afghanistan today, they're better educated, they're literate, they're young, they're aspirational. And that's why it's such a difficult environment today in Afghanistan, because the people are not that connected to this new regime in Kabul. And the Taliban are discovering that it's difficult for them. And even to this day, we're operating inside of Afghanistan. Of course, we've had to pull back in terms of our entertainment content. But most of these people can still access the content that sits outside, whether it's on YouTube or on various OTT platforms. But the connection between India and, as we've discovered, Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, is very much alive. And I think a lot of Indians don't realize the impact their music, their film, their series have on these different populations.
Fascinating. But if I could come back, Shekhar, to something that you raised earlier, the impact of technology, because one of the challenges for Indian movies, Indian books was always distribution. We didn't have enough screens for books, we didn't have enough bookstores. Can India jump straight into the tech space? And you refer to it obliquely, metaverse or through phones, because data is actually the cheapest in India across the world. So can that open up doors for storytellers and content creators where distribution is not really a problem?
Well, we keep believing that, we keep going back to we don't have theaters, we can't get theaters overseas. The fact is that with technology now, and with the internet, and with the way the young people in India are going and using it, TikTok was $1 billion company before most people even knew the name called TikTok. It was $1 billion company. What was that? That was storytelling. What is not storytelling? Somebody says, what's storytelling? I'm saying all perception is storytelling. What is not a story? 15-second story, 30-minute story, a 1-year series is telling a story. So that's already happened. It's about the force. How does India, so let me come back to India. How does India become the world's next influence economy? It's the culture will drive it. The drive of the young people that have not have access to the world, their drive will drive it. What we have to do, what you say in Afghanistan, the Taliban won't let it. What we have to do is release it. There'll be a jack in the box effect, with every young Indian want to express themselves and express themselves. And so they express themselves in TikTok, they'll express themselves in storytelling, some of them will be picked up by Netflix, but that distribution problem does not exist anymore. That's what the metaverse is about. That's what I was talking about when I'm saying it's going to be worth $1 trillion. It's not depending on distribution, it's depending on how much you encourage and allow the youth to go ahead and explore themselves. It's already happened, it's happening now.
Fascinating. If anyone wants to ask questions, just please raise your hands and we'd love to make it interactive. But if I may, sorry.
I'll add to what Shekhar said.
Please, go ahead, sir.
Today, earlier we used to look at politicians, cricketers, celebrities as influencers. But today, the digital platform has given an opportunity for a common man, an artist to perform and put on any digital platform. They will get millions and millions of views, employment, self-employment, recognition. And when companies are looking to spread a word and to hire some influencer, rather than looking at other categories, they look at these. So that is what recently the technology has given the platform to others.
Yeah, it's a democratization of content and influencers and storytellers.
As content providers, we're also platform agnostic. We can deliver that content in different ways to people. In Afghanistan, they watch it on TikTok, on YouTube. There's no way anyone can stop it anymore. Mm-hmm. And this is where we're in a really good position.
And that's also the political problem of the world. Sorry, sir, go on. Because there's nobody to stop them. Yeah.
But if I can just build a bit on what Saad said, Bela, if content becomes platform agnostic, because for some people you have to buy so many OTT subscriptions, it becomes a headache after some time. What is the solution to this from a platform owner?
Look, I think for for us and Netflix and for me, personally too, it's consumer choice, right? You should have the choice to use whatever platforms, whether you want to be behind the paywall. And it's great. There's an opportunity for amazing storytelling from all around the world to be seen all around the world. So instead of Hollywood just exporting English content for the world, now you have platforms like Netflix that will subtitle and dub and globally share these stories from different places. And so I think still in the end of the day, you have to win that consumer every day. Do you have the best series and the best movies? Do you have a wide breadth of content? If you're in the mood to watch a comedy, do you have Kapil Sharma so you can sort of feel that? And if you want to watch an immersive, deep drama, do you watch Fame Game? And you're a fan of Madhuri's, which I know you are, obviously, and do you go watch... there's just a choice, and you have to have, again, I think when we look at our slate, it has to have variety and quality. People come from very different backgrounds and they have very different tastes. So there can be a lot of platforms, and you can enjoy your time in lots of different ways, including gaming. But for us, it has to be that we have to win that consumer every day. So I think competition and multiple platforms are actually great for consumers. They're great for creators too, because there's just more options, but it's actually the best thing for consumers is to have choice. So for us, it's when you feel like it's a headache, because you got to pick which ones you want, which platforms you want, we're still every day going to try to be the place that you and your family want to pick, because we just have amazing content from around the world.
Amish, I think you talked about artificial intelligence, virtual reality, metaverse. Well, with the emergence of this, whether India will cope up, catch up or not. But if you look at the recent pictures from Bahubali to RRR to KGF and others, we are already, for the Hollywood movies, as Madhuri ji earlier said, we are doing the post-production work. India, with the new policy changes, could be a destination for the film shooting and all that, for large pictures. But use of technology, if you look at other sectors also, from paper currency to plastic currency, from coins to paper currency to plastic to the digital payment, the world moved in that direction. But India, from coin to paper currency, leapfrog to the digital payments. And we have one of the best platforms across the world, UPI Bheem. So I think in India, IT-enabled services in the field of filmmaking, content creation, we are already catching up in that direction, I believe.
I think that's a very important point, sir, on the... sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that one of the things that's happening in this world in technology is data is about to become free. I've seen a little card that big at MIT, and the person said, you insert that card in your computer, it'll capture every person that walks by your house. It'll capture and look at the net and tell you everything about that person. In that card, you can have every movie that you've ever seen or your family's seen, every music in that card. You talked about AI. All we need to do is put AI in that card. If I have that card, I'm a platform. I don't need server farms. I don't need expensive server farms. Then if I can get attention, I'm a platform of myself. So Bahubali could have created its own platform and released it itself, and out of Bahubali characters, people have developed more characters. Say Mahabharata is a platform with this new technology. That little card like that. That's what they're developing.
Fascinating. And Shekhar is a professor at MIT, for those who don't know.
I'm not a professor. I don't have grey hair. But I hide it. Okay. But no, I'm visiting researcher, yes.
Madhuri, if I may come to you, because you're a producer as well, one of the challenges for storytellers and content creators is attention spans. They've collapsed. There was this research I'd read, it was for American teenagers, but perhaps it applies everywhere, that the attention spans of many of the teenagers are actually lower than even that of a goldfish. I don't know if that research was done properly or not, but so they claimed. Is that a challenge for storytellers? How do you grab attention when there's so much distraction?
Well, I think it's true of, how many pages you see or they are on their device and they're just going through the device, and if something catches their attention, then they get hooked to it. So the scrolling part of it is the attention deficiency, you can say, that they'll be there for 10 seconds, 3 seconds, they don't like it, they'll go to the next. So I think you have to make your product so good that while they're scrolling, you have to grab their attention and make it stick, you know. And that will come through your storytelling or the way you have pushed your product or the way you have, packaged it to make it attractive to them. Our demographics is like, we have the largest amount of youngsters in India than all over the world, right? So I think, yeah, one is sitting next to me and the other one is on my right. So, so a lot of youngsters. Yes, this whole panel actually. But really, I think if it's made with passion, if it's made from the heart, and there's so many stories to tell in India. We have more than 1 billion people. So can you imagine how many stories are there hidden in India which need to be told? The youngsters, like you said, are going to be the drivers now, because technology is at their fingertips. How they watch it, whether they sit in the theater for 3 hours and watch it, or whether they, like even Fame Game, a lot of people, all the youngsters told me that they just binged watched it because the first 2 episodes caught their attention and they wanted to see the whole thing. I've done it myself, so it's not about the attention span, it's about selecting what they want to watch. And while they're just going up, they just know this is what we're going to watch. And that's what they choose. So I don't think that there's a problem with the attention span of kids today. It's just that what are they looking for? And what are you going to give them? It just boils down to
It's also,
that.
we always assume that if you're watching one program, you're watching one program. Watch these kids. They're gaming, they're chatting to 100 people, to 1,000 people, they're watching cricket, and they're listening to their mom saying, go eat your food, and they're smelling the food. But you know what? When did this not happen? You watch kids without iPads, without anything, their attention is whizzing around. That's what growing up is all about. Growing up and getting knowledge and information is about constantly attention span going everywhere. I think we're just being unfair with kids.
I think they multitask.
Fair point.
That's what I would say. They multitask. Like
Fair
even
point.
my son, he'll be doing his homework, there's something else going on, he's listening to music, but he is aware of everything. You ask him, oh, I said that. He'll come and say, why were you saying that, Mom? So he was listening to my conversation as well through all the things that he was doing.
So the challenge is for a content creator to be able to grab
Yes.
their attention.
Grab the eyeballs, basically.
The problem is we want them for 1 hour. If I can have their attention for 1 minute, that's also good.
I mean,
Anurag ji-
I think to
go ahead.
Madhuri's point, it is that, right? There's a lot of choice, right? There's choices to do so many different things, right, with your time, so many different choices of entertainment. And entertainment, I put lots of things in that category. So you definitely, if it's something great, you will win a moment of truth, right? People will stay with you, and even young people, right? We see that because Stranger Things is going to come out in May, and I promise you, we are going to have their attention the entire first launch of every single episode. And so it has to be worth their time. And I actually agree with both of them. I think it's great, and I think they're probably all going to be better for it to be able to be on a computer and watch a thing and do all of these things. I think it's just old-fashioned to think that maybe that's like bad or wrong. I just think there's this thirst for information, and there's a lot of information available to people. But I agree. I think you can win the moment of truth if you have something that's worth their time.
Yeah. Anurag ji, just building a bit on what you said on our tech stack, there's a cultural stack that was built over many centuries. Southeast Asia has versions of the Ramayana, China, Japan, as you mentioned, was influenced by Buddhism. So is there an opportunity for India to build on that cultural stack that has been built over many centuries or millennia to communicate our stories, and what can the government do to support that?
Of course, yes. I think if your content has that power, because the content what drives everyone. Let me first talk about the platforms. whether it is one platform, A, B, C, whatever platform it is the consumer who will decide what you need to watch. It is not the platform which is important, it is the content which is important. So if we have good content, I believe we can capture the imagination of the world, especially what you're talking about, the historical places where India had some impressions centuries ago. But let me tell you one of the recent examples. Wherever I travel across the world, whether is it in Europe or in Russia or some other parts, people will still talk about movies which are 30 years old, 40 years old. They'll talk about Raj Kapoor's Mera Naam Joker and other movies, which is difficult to imagine. I mean, still, so that is the soft power of India. That is the power of content, the impression which has been left. As you rightly touched upon the area whether India should look at connecting all those historical ties, it is up to the content creators on this side and this side to do that. But I can assure you, whatever is required at the government level will be able to help that.
Saad, if I may come to you, because one of the, and part of culture and communication is news as well, and you do run such outfits. So is there a challenge for news organizations with social media where almost every person on social media can be a journalist, right? So there is that story of the plane that landed on the Hudson. The TV channels weren't there, and there was some guy on Twitter who recorded, and so how should news TV handle that challenge?
Well, news is very important. I mean, we talk about attention span. News and sports is a sure way to capture an audience for longer periods than 20 seconds or 30 seconds. But the challenging thing is, of course, fake news versus real news, how much you invest in terms of verifying stories and so forth. But again, you have to be present everywhere. And one of the things, for example, in Afghanistan we're doing today is we're hiring 120 freelancers across the country to be able to get us this news quickly that we can put up on social media. That we have the longer versions on our main 6 p.m. news or 10 p.m. news, but we're competing with all these other activists on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. So it's become a lot more challenging, but I mean, I'm hopeful that people still would want to invest watching a news network where the stories are verified and they're factually correct. And I'm not sure we're going to prevail, because I think that people are going into their own bubbles. They want their views reinforced. It's a very fragmented world today, whether it's in the US or Europe or perhaps even in India. People, intellectual humility, people don't want to listen to the other side, and they go into their own echo chambers. From a news perspective, it's a major challenge for us all. I'm not quite sure if we're going to prevail, but the trends are not good.
Okay, that was a little more pessimistic than I expected. I'd love to get questions from there is someone out here already, because I do have to announce Bela has to leave by 8:50 for a flight. I was assured by her team that the latest we can push it is 8:51. So we'll just open it for questions. So please go ahead, Maya. First you, then you're here already, okay. And then after that you. Go ahead, Maya.
My name is Maya Mirchandani. I'm a journalist. I'm a senior fellow at ORF, and I head the Department of Media Studies at Ashoka University. I binge watched the Fame Game, and I gave it to my students as a final assignment to review a few weeks ago. Having said that, we're talking also about the power of storytelling. I think some of you have kind of touched upon it right through, and the universal appeal of a good story. So this is sort of a two-part question for, I think, Bela and for Saad. You can see how you want to take it. Bela, when there is a good story, and stories often are a reflection of the times we live in, they are a comment on the society that we are in, how do you deal with stories that meet with opposition When it comes to an OTT platform that's surviving in a regulated landscape, how do you deal with stories that might be controversial? And Saad, as a follow-up to that, in South Asia, we have often fallen back on the Pakistani TV serial or the Bollywood movie in Afghanistan, various places, to actually bring people together, the gap that you referred to. But the gap in a very specific sense, which is that of bridging communities in conflict with each other. Could you comment on that? So this is a two-part question, sorry.
So I guess I'll take the first part first. So I'd say, so Netflix is an entertainment company, right? We want to entertain people all around the world, and that's first and foremost, right? That's what we do. We have country offices in different countries all around the world, and we have local teams, because it's very important that we work with the local creative community. So we have local teams in all of these countries who come from that, speak the language, live in that, and come from the creative community, right? Meaning in Mumbai, we have an entire office of all the teams that have green light authority and that make the decisions on the ground because they understand the culture, they know the specificity of storytelling. And we also abide by local law in whatever country that we operate in, obviously. And look, and I think some things are to entertain. By nature, some art or some creators have something that could be thought-provoking. And, that's been the history of storytelling for a long time. Some of it is a really entertaining thing that just has themes that want to sort of explore or reflect. So I think there's a wide range of things. For us, it always comes down to who's the creator that walks in the door that has a vision and has something to say. And I'd say the local part is important, because local creators in all of these countries might be reflecting their times. They might be just talking about something very specific in their own culture, and the teams on the ground kind of know what that is. So we make such a wide range of things. It really is going to be kind of one story at a time. And these people are so loud on the side over here.
I agree with you.
And it's a very good question, so
guys,
thank you.
Yeah, please listen to what Bela is
If I may request, if you could just listen to those of us who are on the panel, we are hungry, we still haven't eaten, but we are speaking here.
Part two. I think we can go to part two.
Thanks, Bela. Culture and sports play a significant role in bringing people together. And I think, because we're talking about India, your music, your series, your Bollywood films have a significant impact on global audiences. And Afghanistan in particular, but I think even, go to Africa, people are obsessed about Bollywood. But the impact of, we haven't touched on sports, but the impact of IPL, for example, right now, on the subcontinent, on Australia, is significant. And I think these two things do bring people together. I'm not sure about, the Pakistanis, they may have their political issues, but they can't get enough Indian content. And I'm not sure, the Pakistani series were quite good 2 or 3 decades ago. I'm not sure if they're quite as good as they used to be. But I think this is an opportunity. I think for Afghanistan and India, it's not an issue because we've always been quite close culturally. But it's that India could better utilize, I think, in the region and, of course, more globally. But for India, there are 2 opportunities, I think. One is to a global audience, but the other one is to the Indian diaspora. They're 20 million strong. Someone was telling me that there's a cinema chain called Cinema Police, owned by a Mexican company. They're building these cinemas around Michigan and Queens, where they have large Indian American populations. And apparently it's the most, it's the most profitable part of their business because they cater to that particular sector. So I think there are 2 opportunities for Indian storytellers to focus on a larger global audience, but also on the Indian diaspora in Europe as well as the US.
My mom is at that cinema in Los Angeles all the time. So
I just want to add something here. This is,
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that storytelling is, I'm going to wait for everybody, is one of the most
guys,
fucking arrogant.
Can we listen,
most
please? Thank you.
Fucking arrogant word I've heard. See, I've got everybody's attention. All right? But it is. Nobody, if you are telling this story and everybody is interpreting the story in exactly the same way, you're failing. We should rename it story imagining, When I tell a story, everybody else is listening to a story and interpreting the story from their point of view. So a storyteller, if I am a storyteller, my job becomes to open the story out so everybody can interpret it from whatever culture, whatever age they are, in their own way. Can I tell you a little story? Does everybody want to hear a story? I am a good storyteller.
Okay,
All
go.
right, great. Okay, thank you. I was shooting my last film, What's Love Got to Do with the UK, and I took my cook. And there was something on television, a documentary running on men landing on the moon. So his name is Suresh. I said, can you guys listen for God's sake?
Guys,
People have come all the way from the US and here. Or are we going to stop this panel?
Guys, can we please keep quiet? May I request if you could just listen to the panel? Thank you.
So Suresh,
Thank you.
my cook, there was a documentary about landing on the moon. So I said, Suresh, come, look. There was that capsule. They were landing on the moon and everything. He said, sir, you're a filmmaker. You know about special effects. You know that didn't happen. That's just creative. And I said, no, it actually happened. So next day I took him to the He said, I worship the moon. What do you mean they landed on the moon? So the next day I took him to the Natural History Museum and the Science Museum in London, and there's a mock-up of the capsule and this and the video and everything. And he came back and he said, sir, that's very good, sir. That way they landed on the moon, but, and he smiled at me, feeling sorry for me, and said, but they landed on your moon, not my moon. And you know what he was? Yeah. He was right. He was interpreting a story in a different way. So when you talk about mythology, and you say, you've written about this in your books, it's an interpretation. Every story is an interpretation. He's gone back thinking I'm a bit stupid to think that man could land on his moon, but that's it. He's interpreting in a different way. And all stories interpreting, right? So whatever story you tell, it's a different interpretation. And that's the power of storytelling, that people from all over the world can interpret it differently. It's story imagining.
Can we give this
Fascinating. There's a question out
She's been
there. The
waiting very
lady.
patiently.
Go ahead, please. If you can introduce yourself and fire away.
Hi, Ritika Acharya from Bharat Voice, Bangalore. My question is to Shekhar Kapoor and also to Madhuri Dixit and also to Anurag ji. Since we just talked in great detail about, the attention span of people, and we're seeing it here as well, we talked about, the attention span of the youth now, and could someone please focus a little bit on also the addiction culture? Because there's so much content. There's free content, there's cheap content, and there's so much to watch now, and we're spoiled for choices. So can someone please talk about, because it also leads to a particular addiction. Like, it can't be a very simple answer as to, I'm watching 10 episodes in a day, so it's my problem. So what do you have to say about addiction also maybe leading to other mental health issues and it becoming a problem as well?
See, you raised a very different question than what we are raising. You're talking about addiction. Addiction is a completely different word. Let me make it benign for you. You walk through the woods, you love walking through the woods. You're addicted to that. You see, that's the benign addiction. I walk through nature. I can work out 10 different birds chirping at the same time. I'm tuned to 10 different birds. I can smell 20 different flowers. I can feel the earth beneath my feet. I can tell you what little path I'm walking right. I am tuned to listening to everything, see how far, and people in India will call that meditation. So my attention span is going everywhere. So the more meditative you are, the greater amount of things you can take inside yourself. You're multitasking, as kids are doing with this other thing. So what you're talking about is an addiction. Yes, that's a problem. Drinking and addicted to drinking is a problem. Every kind of addiction is a problem. So yeah, I completely give you that. a kid addicted to gaming in a particular game, I mean, sometimes I feel that what's going on in the world, well, WikiLeaks did that, but the idea that you get addicted to games, right? And you do shoot them up here and there, and sometimes thinking, what are these soldiers doing in Ukraine? What are they doing? What do people do in war? If every kid is growing up addicted to shooting everything that they see in front of them, there is a distance happening between your emotional connect. When you separate an emotional and a moral connect with what you're doing, that's what's leading to addiction. And they're addicted to shooting up. So that's something definitely, worldwide we've been talking about it, but forgotten about it. You get addicted to video games, so killing somebody feels like a video game. That's an addiction. And look what it's doing to people at war. So that's a huge new question about social addiction that you're talking about. Yeah?
Madhuri, Anurag ji, do you want to add to that, or?
I think he has answered.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Next question, please. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicola Andreola and I run a small consultancy in Italy. We recently published a book with the United Nations World Tourism Organization about how internet entertainment services could play a role in improving the tourism around the world. So my question is for the Honorable Minister, Mr. Thakur. Tourism before COVID was south of 10% of Indian GDP. Now, traditionally, people have used movies to drive visitor in countries. I go to movies, I go to cinema, I watch a film, and next thing you know, I'm in Rome because I want to take a picture of the Colosseum or in Varanasi or whatever. Now, this approach has a problem because a lot of people come in one given year and one given place. All distribution model. With the new distribution model, it's more spread across time and space. I have more content from around the world, and so I do not have some problems that Maya Bay may have after a blockbuster success, that they have to shut down the country. So the tourism can be way more sustainable and actually more culturally relevant. You don't just go there to see a place, but if you watch a series or a documentary for 20 or 30 hours, you're actually more interested in learning a language, literature, music, etc., etc. So new internet entertainment services can play a great deal to
I'm
improve.
so sorry. If I may just request, if you could come to the question
Sure,
quickly,
I
because
apologize.
we have only some 8 minutes
Yes.
left.
My question is,
please go ahead.
is India taking any concrete and proactive steps as a government to sort of collaborate with these services in this phenomenon, or are you just waiting for the grace to happen? Thank you and sorry for the delay.
That's a question to me?
It's to you, Anurag ji.
Honorable Minister.
It's to you. Must be to you.
I can also.
No, I'll go to you. You were looking at me, I thought,
We'll jointly maybe answer it. So I think, so we have a partnership in so many ways within the ministry of making sure there's more writers, more directors, more filmmakers, more opportunity to film all through many different locations in India to see really the wide breadth of the beautiful, amazing sort of landscapes and different culture. And we've definitely seen in Netflix that when we have a show and we've had tourism in places like the Ministry of Tourism in Spain, actually we all did a study together of how Money Heist and many other shows actually increased the tourism, to that country. And I think all of these shows that we're doing in India in so many ways on films and series is happening, definitely, because we're putting them on a global scale. You're seeing people watch these shows, love the culture, see different landscapes, different parts of India, and that does increase tourism. And I answer from my side, because our investment and commitment to India is real, and we're very excited to be here, is that the partnerships that we've had with the government in so many different ways have enabled more of the storytelling and more film and series to happen. And there's not specific things that make somebody want to travel or not. You just see such a wide range of the culture through these storytellings. So I totally agree, because we've seen it happen so much on our shows. Emily in Paris sent everybody to Paris very quickly. And I think this Indian story, the movies and series from India are definitely doing that too.
I'll just add to what Bela has answered. One, it depends on the storyline, what kind of destination is required. And India, with such rich culture and heritage and vast landscape, offers a lot of opportunities with various scripts, they can come here and shoot. One is at the government level. We have the Film Facilitation Office, which helps to get the permissions. Second, in the federal structure, it is the states, which plays a very important role. They come out with incentives and also with the hand-holding for all those film shooting in those states. As far as the other policy side is concerned, from time to time, after discussion with various filmmakers and the industry, we take such decisions to shoot films in India. On other hand, there are such examples like Yash Chopra ji, when he shot many films in Switzerland, it became a favorite destination for many Indians to travel to Switzerland. Now we see a lot of foreigners coming from outside India to visit India, and the one reason is the destination which has been shown through the storyline in those films or in those documentaries. And as Bela said, that we talked about the 30 achievers, the documentaries we are making. Those are shot not only in studios but in those destinations, promoting not only their achievements but also the landscape of India as well.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself and who you're asking the question to.
My name is Manish Chand. I'm editor of India Rights Network and India and the World magazine. My question is addressed to Madhuri Dixit. Madam, for many, you are the embodiment of India's soft power. What does soft power mean to you, really? And are you aware of this role as an official ambassador of India when you travel abroad? And secondly, what does fame game mean to you personally? Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think for me, when I go abroad and I travel everywhere, just the fact that they know me, they've seen my films, they enjoy the films, they enjoy the culture I represent, and they feel a relatability with me. They feel that, you know, whatever films I've done, the characters I've played, there is a connect for them with me, and not just me, but also the culture I bring to them. Like, I remember when I did Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, that was one of the first films that went all over the world because the cinemas had opened up and they were showing Hindi movies in a lot of these places. And that kind of created a ripple effect where people suddenly rediscovered the joys of getting married because of all the traditional functions that we do, and weddings which were used to be like few hours, one day affair became like 3-day affairs with Sangeet, and because somewhere they related with it and they felt that draw towards the culture, and it was as if they rediscovered their own culture again. And so that's how I see it, as a soft power, where you are influencing the people, you're influencing the way they think, and they are relatable. You are relatable to them, and they look up to you, and they feel that you are representing what they feel and what they are. So that's how I look at it. And fame game, I mean, for me, fame is something that is a byproduct of what I do, what I love doing, what I'm passionate about. And I do it to the best of my ability, and what happens out of that is fame for me. But I love what I do, and every day is a great day for me when I wake up in the morning and I feel, oh my God, today I'm going to work, I'm going to be on the set. So fame is something that just happens, but I love my work and I love what I do.
Okay, we have to come to a close. Okay, that's the final, absolute last question. Please go ahead.
I have 2 questions. I would like to make my address to you, author you.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm the moderator, I can't answer.
So, do the people across the world, you mentioned about the span of attention. So,
Okay.
do the people across the world tend to pick up thinner books than the earlier times? And to Madhuri ji, I have a question.
Okay.
Can we, the Indian, have a Netflix alternative? We have seen the alternatives of Twitter here. So, an alternative of Netflix.
An alternative of Netflix, why?
I think, Bela, you should answer that.
You mean a lesser?
Yeah.
Well, you have so many local OTTs.
Yes, we already
With
have a lot of Indian
omnipresence, with
OTTs.
omnipresence, where, I mean, we have seen the expansion of Netflix. It's over, I mean, the way globalization.
Traveling to the rest of the world.
Yeah, massive.
I guess that is asking if an Indian OTT platform can have global presence.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Absolutely, why not?
Why not? That's the question.
Like I said, we have.
No, it'll happen. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Why did you ask this question? Do you have any doubt about the Indian OTT platforms? No, if Indian films can make international mark or they do well at the international level, I think the Indian platforms, OTT platforms, have started doing well. And it's just a matter of time they will be international. And you see a lot of players from the media and the entertainment space, they're coming into this sector. One after another, you have seen there are more local players than the global players in India, which is good for everyone, for Netflix and others, to have more competition here and globally as well. So I don't see any reason it should happen.
On that very, my books are long, 500 pages, they sell. People read long books, don't worry. All right, I think we have to close it now. If there are any final words anyone wants to say, Shekhar, Madhuri, Mr. Thakur?
Needs to leave.
Yeah, so that's why we are bringing it to a close now.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. It's time for us to eat.
Mr. Thakur, sir, if...
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right. Madhuri, Bela?
Bela, please answer that question before you leave.
I'm going to say you're going to love it when you say it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It was a lovely panel. I hope you guys enjoyed it.